Hello, everybody, and welcome to my next video in the Debt in the 2020 series. So this is episode 6, and in this video, I want to talk about what is the biggest benefit of having a traditional, stable career type job. And there is one key benefit which I think most people overlook when they think deeply about careers, but that is the benefit of having access to debt, easy access to debt that banks understand. So first of all, what is a typical job? So a typical job is your typical transactional employer-employee relationship that banks know and understand. It's your typical career type job in a hierarchical organization, meaning you probably have a boss, you probably have annual evaluations, you probably have guaranteed work week. You probably have paid time off, PTO. You probably have a very linear progression of roles within the job. You typically have health insurance, a guaranteed salary that goes up every year, maybe a bonus at the end of the year based loosely on performance, merit pay, health insurance. So that's really your typical job. What people have thought of as a job until say 2005. What most people would consider a job, like a regular job in 2005, that's your typical job. And that's what banks understand. That's what banks know and understand. Um, and this is sad that banks only understand this. I just want to point that out because I could make a strong argument today against the appeal of a traditional career type job. I could make a very, very strong argument against it. For example, you may get comfortable if you've been staying in the same job for 3 years, 5 years, 7 years. You may get comfortable, not as sharp, right? You may get in a state of amotivation where you're like not too motivated, you're not unmotivated. You're just like, oh, it's my job. You know, maybe you may be not as sharp. You may get comfortable. You may get stuck. Your organization may be bloated by a bunch of administrative issues, bunch of crazy issues, low efficient issues. You may be in an organization that's not agile, with a deficient hierarchy, with politics. I mean, really, your typical workplace stuff. You are dependent on that organization, especially if you get comfortable and you're not as sharp. And if layoffs happen, then that's when you get fragile, right? Talking about debt and fragility, you get fragile if a layoff happens because you are dependent if you got comfortable and if you're not as sharp as you used to be. The big question is, if you were to go on the job market right now, would companies fight to get you? Would they jump at you? That's why it's a good idea to test marketability once in a while to see how marketable you are, because sometimes if you stay too long in an organization, you become way too dependent on that organization, and then that's when you can't negotiate. You don't have you don't have any selling points, right? And the biggest problem, I would argue, is that your pay doesn't scale with your skill, which is one of the big issues of getting a typical job. So again, pros and cons, but I think we need to discuss this in the context of mortgage. And I don't want to undermine or say be pro or against any job in this video. I'm just stating some of the things that I believe to be true here. So typical career jobs can be very good. They can be very good on the condition that you do this thing, that you stay sharp. You always stay sharp, always on top of your game, and you always remain marketable. Then you don't get stuck. You try to get promoted internally or externally. You move up. You try to move up over the years, right? And you commit to the organization. It's always best to commit to an organization for 3 to 5 years, at least show some commitment. Hopping jobs from year to year is probably the worst thing you can do in typical career type professions. So again, very broad advice, but typical career jobs can be good. But a lot of people, and you see this in popular culture, certainly, a lot of people, especially Gen Z, prefer entrepreneurship or independent contracting. And I can't blame them. There's no way I can blame that because it's just crazy advantages to being a Schedule C type worker, right? You work when you want, where you want. You have full freedom, full independence. Your pay scales with your skills. If you operate on a platform, if you operate on a digital platform and sell a digital good, You can earn so much more money if you're good at what you do on a digital platform. And there's so many of them, right? But you're on YouTube. You probably see all of these YouTubers making their own enterprise, and you capture a larger share of your value creation. One of my favorite metrics when I study stocks is productivity. Looking at productivity, some firms make more than 2 or 3 million of revenues per employee. So when a firm makes 3 million on you, and say they give you 80,000, you're not capturing much of the productivity that you're creating. Working on your own is a way to capture that productivity. So there's a lot of benefits. But I think when you start out in life, whenever that may be, or when you start out trying to seek a career, but there's a chief reason why you should start with your typical career, in my opinion. This is just an opinion piece. There's a chief reason. And that chief reason, this is called the Debt in the 2020s series. So that chief reason why I think you should always start out with a career job is because it's your best opportunity to access the money printer. We are not banks. We don't have an account at the Fed. We can't borrow from the Fed. A mortgage, a 30-year mortgage for your house, for your family house, is the next best thing that's accessible to most people, most middle class. So typical career jobs are very easy for banks. You fit the mold. It's so easy for them. It's easier to get a mortgage compared to, say, someone who's an independent contractor and fills a Schedule C and has variable income. It's much easier to get a mortgage with a career job. Banks are very used to that. Mortgages are the main way for a middle class to access fiat-sponsored monetary printing. When you get charged 4% on a mortgage, on a leverage that is, say, 1 to 20, say you put 25% down, that's a 1 to 20 leverage. After just 1 year, 18 months on the job, that's insane risk. That's absolutely insane risk. People only take that risk. Banks only take that risk, and companies, mortgage companies, because they know that Fed and Fed-sponsored entities are there to buy mortgage-backed securities once they reissue them. That's why I've gotten quite a few mortgages in my life, and every time it gets bought, it gets purchased, right? It doesn't stay on the financer's balance sheet. You get something in the mail, 3 months, 6 months later, you get a little mail and say, hey, by the way, we own your mortgage now. Because it got sold. They sold it, and it's typically the Fed who ends up buying most of them, right? And when it's not the Fed, it's government-regulated entities with regulations forcing entities to buy them. Banks are like that. A lot of insurance companies are like that. They're forced to buy these bonds. So we have to realize that mortgages are a gift from the currency system and the fiat system. They're a gift to the middle class. I realize this is a contrarian thought, but they are a gift. Mortgages are a gift that the fiat world and the fiat system and the banking system is giving to families because it is a national goal to have as many people be homeowners. So it's really a good thing. So use it wisely. Fit the file, fit what the bank wants to see, and use it to buy the typical person's biggest asset, which is their home. That is a recommendation. That is what I would do. That is what I do. I don't give any advice, lifestyle or financial or credit advice in this channel, but it is my entertainment duty to tell you that it's a good idea for entertainment purposes only, of course. So what would I do, right? What would I do? And really, this could be any stage of one's life. I mean, you may start a career in your 40s. You don't have to start a career in your 20s. Life gets in the way sometimes. But anyways, first of all, after I'm good at something, right? So first of all, you got to develop a skill, right? Whether it's a coding boot camp, whether it's a university, whatever it is, you got to develop a skill somehow. And once you have that skill, you enter the job market. You get your typical career job. That's what I would do. Stay 1 year, 2 years, something like that. Or for your entire career if you like it. like for you can do really well with a full career. Absolutely you can do really well by having a full career, but you just gotta stay sharp and never stay comfortable. Don't ever get comfortable. Always stay sharp. Um, so you get the career job, or you get the job that fits the mold, and then you get your home with a 30-year mortgage. And only then, only once you've secured a loan, only once you've secured that loan, is when you start taking career risks, right? Get a career, get a job. Don't make any waves. Don't do anything risky. Be on your best behavior. Be the best employee for like 2 years. Then apply for a mortgage. Get your mortgage, and once your mortgage is issued and everything's fine, that's when you can take career risk. And career risk could be trying to move up in an organization. So I mean, it's tough. If you have an organization that has no politics, good job on finding that. Most organizations tend to have politics, but you could play that game and you could try to move up. You could try to become a manager, and you could do that within the organization that hired you, or you could switch organizations, right? A lot of people, whenever you want higher pay, they switch. Every 3 to 5 years, you can switch your job and get a better job. 5 years, I recommend 5 years. You could try to venture out on your own after that home is there, after that mortgage is there. You can try to do platform work, right? You can try to launch your enterprise to be an entrepreneur. You could even change your career, change your path, get back into education. Training, online certification, all that kind of stuff. You could take like a year off. There's things you can do, right? If you have a decent stock portfolio that you've been working on for a few years, it's okay. Your mortgage, you're still gonna be able to pay your mortgage with your savings, and you could even retire early. But what you can't do is get a mortgage again, right? You see a lot of people that are retired early. If you don't fit the mold, you can't get a mortgage again. So you get a mortgage when you fit the mold. So again, last recommendation is get the 30-year mortgage first, and maybe move a few times and keep a second family home or a third home, and get 2 or 3 mortgages, 30-year mortgages, maybe. I don't know. Anyways, this is just entertainment. This is not advice of any kind, not investment advice, only entertainment. Thank you very much for your support. Don't forget to like, don't forget to subscribe. And you can follow me at Beat the Denominator on Twitter. Thank you very much and have a great day.